Well, good morning, Longhaultanker, straight razor shaving with Longhaultanker, and today is Tuesday, the 9th of December at 9:55 a.m. On this morning, chilly morning. It's about 45 to 50 degrees outside. Anyway, I'm going to do a straight razor shave here. I've got approximately 4 days worth of whiskers on my face, and they are in desperate need. They've been being removed, and they've been calling out to me, cut me, cut me. So let's go over the equipment for this morning. The razor I'm going to use is a White & Butcher, and let's see here, Sheffield, England, so post 1891, and medium ground, celebrated. Markings are in pretty good shape. Let's see if I can get them on there for you. Right there is about as good as it's going to get. So you can see the markings. Now, I did a shave with this a few days ago, and I said to myself, I can get better out of that. And I took it to this, most of my Sheffields, I always, not always, but most of the time, almost reflexively, I take them to the cuticle. And so I did a cuticle refresh on it, and no go. And so yesterday, I took it, did a full workup on it, going back to the Shapton glass 4K, 8K, 16K, and jumped to the cuticle. And so we'll see how it performs here. The brush I'm going to use is the Simpson Chubby 3 Manchurian Badger. One of their, in fact, I could not order this from a U.S. supplier. I had to order this directly from Simpson in England, and it took about, 15, 20 days to get here. And so, it's a top quality brush. Got no complaints. And it's a beautiful brush even. Our soap this morning is going to be Sterling Soap Company's Dunshire. I'm sure it's a dupe of some high-end cologne, but it's a lovely soap, and all of Sterling soaps are, they lather up terrifically. And I'm on my first cup of coffee this morning. Folgers 1850 black gold, and I hope you give that a try. I've not seen it in the stores, so you may have to order it, but it's well worth it. It's excellent. I'm drinking this from my Lake Tahoe cup, which is my primary go-to coffee cup in the mornings, as a memento from our Lake Tahoe trip 3 or 4 years ago. All right, let's get on with it. So we've had several days of rain here, and what is today? Today's Tuesday, so almost from Sunday or Monday of last week to the weekend. I think Sunday was the first day we were able to get out and do any work. And it's turned chilly with winter coming on. And so I guess where we last left the construction project, our shed, is we got the framing done. We got the studs put in sections on the 16-foot sections. We did the stud walls in one section, one 16-foot stretch. On the 24-foot section, we did it in two 12-foot sections. And let me tell you, that was a chore and a challenge to getting those, once they were constructed, getting them raised up, getting them, and it's just my wife and I. There's no friends, no family, and it's just, I'm 66 years old, and my wife is 60 years old, bless her heart. And it's just the two of us, two of us that are working on it like that. Got some music playing in the background. Try to find some free, upbeat music. And so, as I say, it's just the two of us working on it, and we got to the almost the last of the framing stage. We put in some temporary supports going across. We put in three supports, 16-foot 2x4s going across. Yeah, I was amazed as I got into this project and watching the videos and the primary video. We got a primary video that we're following, and then when we come across something that we're just learning about, we'll go and watch supplementary videos on like framing or building rafters, and just making sure that what he's telling us is consistent with what others are doing as well, because my wife and I are not construction people, but we want these things done, and to pay for them, Home Depot charging $14,000 for a 12 by 20 shed. And let me tell you something. When these contractors come out, they're looking for the cheapest products, the cheapest shortcuts to build these things, and they don't care that the thing falls apart in 2 years. And so watching the videos that we've been watching, I love this guy, the Home Renovision DIY.com, not .com, forget, the handle name is what I just said, Home Renovision DIY. That's the YouTube handle you can look up, and you'll find him. Jeff out of Ottawa, Ontario. And almost everything he does, he says, I got building codes I got to follow here. And so most of what I'm doing is well above code and overkill, because I want it to last, he says. So whether he's building the shed for himself, whether he's family, a client, I don't know. He hasn't said. But I love the way he thinks. I love the way he explains and motive. Now, my wife and I are not strangers to projects, but this is certainly the largest and most comprehensive project that she and I have undertaken without assistance. And because other projects we've undertaken and maybe gotten a contractor to come help us and say, this is the way we want to do it. Oh yeah, I can do that in, one day, and I'm going to charge you $500. Okay, fine, no problem. And but this, I'm not going to go through all of the other stories that we've had to go through to get to where we're at now. But my wife and I just we ultimately threw up our hands and said, we can do this ourselves. Of course, we're watching videos on how to build a shed and seeing all these different guys. And so anyway, one of the things, and I'm moving on from all of that to the next, and that is, one of the things you learn is that square and level is so very important. Especially when you get to the point of putting up the siding, getting ready to do the gable and the rafters, and the roofing, and so all that's so very important. And so square is the first thing you got to take under consideration, because you're building the foundation, you're building the lower frame of footers, and that's got to be square, because everything else comes built off of that, the squareness. And so we built the bottom frame, and one of the things you learn, and those of you that are familiar with building much more than my wife and I, is that you measure diagonally from that far point over here to that far point over there diagonally. So from the right to the left to the right. And if you're in square, your measurement from that corner to that corner diagonally will be the same as your measurement from that corner to that corner diagonally, if you're following my drift. And the first measurement that we took on the lower level, we were out of square by 1/2 inch. And like our guy says, it's just a shed. And if you're not 100% in square, that's all right. You can make up for it. And so 1/2 inch, we considered it a victory. And then as we built the frames and the studs, and built up and got to the top plate, and had framed in the door, framed in the 2 windows. If you saw the video, the pictures at the beginning of this video, you'll see where we have the windows framed in and temporarily installed with temporary screws. We're going to take those out and finish the commence with the rafters, and you'll see the opening that we've framed in for the door. So we're done with the lower framing. Got the double plate on top. Plate is a 2x4 that runs the distance, runs the spans, ties it all in together, and tightly so. And so we did the measurement again diagonally from top corner to top corner, and diagonally both directions. Somewhere or another we made up for a 1/4 inch, and we are now exactly 1/4 inch out of square. And for 2 old people that have never done anything like this before, we consider it a monumental victory that we've gotten to the point that we have. And only to be 1/4 inch out of square in both measurements. I may have to do some more work on this Wade and Butcher. It's not as satisfying as I would like for it to be. And of course, when you're talking about framing in the doors and the windows, everything has to be square and level. Otherwise, you get these, you wouldn't want a project looking like that. Somebody walks up and drives into your driveway and sees your shed and the two windows, and it's not absolutely square and level. They're going to look at that and go, that don't look right. And it doesn't. It wouldn't. So the next step from where we're at right now is we're going to take those windows out of the frame. They're still sitting up in the frame, as you saw in the photograph. And I'll tell you something I've also been impressed with and amused by is all of the temporary supports that you use while constructing, whether you're working on the frame and the studs and the sections that you're building that in, and the 2x4 temporary supports that you use to hold that up, or the cross members on top to hold it. And that's one of the things that helps to hold it in square. Anyway, those 16-footer 2x4 boards are holding it in square that are screwed down on the top. Those aren't permanent. That's all temporary to hold it together until you get to the what have the videos called the top plate. And that is, and they don't have to be single boards. The final layer that goes on top of the 24-foot length and the 16-foot lengths. Now on the 24-foot lengths, we use 16-footers, and centered them, and then put two 4-footers on each end on the 24-foot length, and then on the 16-foot lengths here. What we also did here, something a little bit different than what the video said, but it made sense to us, and that is that we came across on the two ends, the two 16-foot ends, with a 16-footer that went from the very end where the 24-footer comes in, and the 16-footer comes into the 24-footer. We connected it to the 24-foot and spanned the 16-foot, because 16 feet ain't really 16 feet. You have to subtract the distances of the two 24-foot ends and cut that, whether it's 4 inches or 6 inches, you cut that off of the 16-footer, so you're really at 15 and 9 inches. But when it's sitting in between the two 24-footers, it is 18 when you measure it from here to over here. And so what we did is that we took the full 16 feet and tied into the 24-foot end over here and the 24-foot end over here. And now you're still at 18 feet, but you now connected to the 24-foot frame as you're putting on the top cap, and then when you run the 24-foot length, or the 16 feet, it's not 4 feet you're putting on a 3 foot and X inches. I hope that made sense. And just that little bit will help hold it into, by cross tying the 16-foot piece to the 24-foot piece. That cross tying helps keep everything into square as you come to an end of the framing part of the lower section. So that's all of the framing and the stud walls. So vertically, we're pretty much where we need to be there exactly. And now the next part will be the rafters and the center peak. For the rafters, which will be the peak point of where the roofing goes on, and finding that what the challenging part on the rafters is, once you get, and we've got a 24 2x6, 24-foot 2x6 that we're going to run the whole span across the top of the peak, and mounted up there with temporary supports, and then the challenging part from there is now we've got a 16-foot span, which ordinarily, you think about it, 16-foot span divided in half, coming down on both sides from the peak, that's 8 feet and 8 feet. Well, you want to have a little overhang as you come down from the center peak downward on your rafter over the side plate, top plate. You want to have an inch or so overhang, or if you're going to build a soffit, even more of an we're not going to do the soffit, And so 8-footers, not enough. So we bought a number of 10-foot 2x4s, and now we've got enough to connect to the center 24-foot 2x6, and then come down to the top plate over here. I'm really getting into this, aren't I? And the angle, the challenging part then is that 2x10 is going to have to connect to the top plate, the 24-foot plate, at an angle. How do you find that angle? And there's a little tip and trick to doing that easily without having to get out your protractor. And you just mark it. There's a way to do that, the tip and trick. You mark it, and then, as I've said in previous video, when we started this project, my wife went and bought me a miter saw, DeWalt 780 DWS miter saw, a DWS 780 miter saw. And so once you've made your mark as to the angle that goes up to the top, the center board up there, you bring it down to your miter saw. You turn your miter saw blade to the angle of the line that you're going to cut, and then you look at the scale on the miter saw, and that'll tell you what your angle is. And generally, 18, 19, 17 degrees. Will be where you need to be. And so that's all going to be fun. That's all going to be the only challenge for old people like us is as we get to working higher and higher, we've got to be up on ladders. And so old people on ladders is never a good combination. So we got to be extra careful not to fall. We've got a 6-foot and a 12-foot. And so far they've been serving us well. So far. And so being rather busy, I haven't had much time to shave. I had more time last week with the rain, and we're expecting rain again by the weekend. As I said, today's Tuesday, and so it's supposed to pick up on Friday and Saturday. But we're having a lot of fun doing it. It's bringing a lot of satisfaction to both of us, my wife and I, and we look at each other and just smile and laugh and look at what we did today. With this next part, now I could stop here, and we've already talked to a couple of people who said they would help us finish it out, but no, I think we're going to carry on for at least another stage or two, get the rafters done. After the rafters, bringing the OSB on top of the rafters to create the roof. And after that, of course, the put on the tar paper. Oh, before that, when we get done with the rafters, before we proceed further, we're going to wrap it in waterproof. And all of the taping, and I didn't know there was so much taping involved with waterproofing. And of course, you build all of that and you don't want it to rot. You don't want it to leak. And so you tape with waterproof taping. And there's special products for that we've learned along the way here over the last few weeks. I've been watching the videos. Where to tape, how much to tape, what tape to buy. And they're all using the same stuff. We learned it from the primary guy, this Jeff that we're watching at Home Renovision DIY. And then other fellows that we watch. Oh yeah, you got to do this too. And they're doing it and building their sheds. Of course, we're not following we're only looking at them for confirmation what we're already learning from the primary video that we're watching. And I'll link it in. I've already linked it in, but I can link it in again. And then once we've got it all wrapped, the rafters are done, and the wrap it in the waterproofing, and then we come back with the tar paper. And I don't know, I don't have to go back and look at the videos. Do we start putting the shingles on, or do we go ahead and do the final install on the door and windows? And so we're just kind of doing this in sections, a piece at a time, according to the primary video. Shave's coming along all right. It's not as crisp as I would like for it to be, which tells me that the refresh part on the Shapton glass stones didn't go as far as I think it should go, because I can still have a smooth shave, put on a smooth edge with a cuticle as the final step, and still have a crisp enough edge that it feels like it's sharp. And I'm not getting that sensation that I usually do. That's why on a cuticle I usually have to go back and rework it, 2, 3, 4 times before I'm satisfied. And it's kind of like anything else. I was telling my wife yesterday, I said, this kind of reminds me of honing, because if you cut off too much wood, you can't put it back. And you got to go get another 2x4. And start over with whatever it was you were doing, whether it's framing in a window, framing in a door. Oh, we cut too much off, we miscalculated. And we've had a few of those because we're not professional, we're not experienced. But we haven't done it too many times. You don't want to waste money on wood that you're just creating scrap lumber. You're going to end up throwing in the fire barrel to burn up at the end. Don't want to do that. That's a waste of money. Standard 2x4, 8 feet long, costs about $6. My point being there is that you buy 100 of those and all of a sudden you're talking about real money. All right, feels not bad. Oh, here's a question, and if you're watching this far into it, thank you, but I should have asked this question up front. I've got one of my first strops I ever bought was the Illinois 361. Illinois strop company. It's got the square leather and it's a nice genuine leather strop, and particularly has a what I call an exceptional linen second to it, and I used it in the truck all those years, and it got dirty. And I'm trying to bring back the crisp white color to it. Right now, I've got the strop, the linen. I took it apart, and the linen section, I've got it soaking in water with about half an ounce of bleach to help clean it up. This morning, it soaked overnight. This morning, I took some Dawn dishwashing liquid, applied to the linen, took a gentle scrub brush, a fingernail scrub brush, and worked it on both sides. Put it back in the Clorox water that I created, and that's where it's sitting now. And so I'm going to let it soak. My intent is to let it soak for a couple more days to see. It did not appear by soaking in the Clorox water or the bleach water overnight that it brought back any of the crisp white look. And so anything, how would you clean the linen? I've read years ago, I remember hearing that somebody said in order, because they were talking about the kanayama linen portion and how stiff it was. And they were, how can you make it softer? And one guy said, throw it in the laundry and wash it. And I don't know about that, but if you have any recommendations, I'd like to hear them on how to clean and soften a white. Of course, the kanayama is orange color, but the linen, the Illinois Strop 361 is a white linen piece, and it got kind of gray and dingy. You know, diesel just leaves a mess, no matter, you know, diesel exhaust, diesel smoke, diesel oil, engine oil, you know, fuel, diesel fuel. You get on your hands and, you know, you need to go wash, because anything you touch is going to get diesel oil on it, and that diesel fuel oil attracts dirt and grime, and it's just nasty. And now that I'm out of all of that and trying to get, I've got a tool bag full of tools that I need to clean and soak in gasoline maybe and get all of that off. I think I don't think I need to go back to the Shapton glass stones to bring it up again. I think the base work is fine from the 4K, 1K. I didn't do for 1K, but I certainly did 4K. No need to go back to the 1K. I think I'm just going to go back to the conical and work it good for 30 minutes to an hour. And I know some of you are saying that's probably too long, but I still hold to the old notion that I heard years ago on the forums, and that is you can't overhone on a natural stone. And I certainly agree with that with an Arkansas stone or the Zulu gray. Not sure about the conical, because the conical can be a bit more aggressive depending upon how much slurry you've got worked up. And so I'm always mindful about how much steel I'm taking off. And the steel doesn't, and I don't know that I can explain all of this because I'm not a metallurgist, and the relationship between steel and stone. But the Arkansas does not seem to be as aggressive of a stone as the conical. Now there's an interesting point for discussion. But I will tell you, coming down, up and down those ladders for the last 3 or 4 days, today's Tuesday, so Monday, we started back to work, I guess. It was on Saturday, so the last 3 days, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, every bone in my body hurts. My hands, my shoulders, my elbow, my back, my hip. I may have cut that a little short there. All right. Wade and Butcher. So Sheffield, England, celebrated medium, hollow ground. I know I can't hardly. That's about as good as I'm going to get, I think. But at least the markings are from the naked eye. In my hand, the markings are legible. And so this is easily, I don't know, 1920s, 1930s. Beautiful razor. And we're going to use another Sheffield classic for the head shave. You know, scratch that. No, we're not. I'm going to stay with the Wade and Butcher. I had my shower yesterday evening after a day's work in the yard on the shed, and my shaving station here is not to be desired. My sink is not where I do my shaving. I have to have a Rubbermaid style bowl that I have to have another bowl to fill it up, and then the Rubbermaid is a larger, suitable enough given my disadvantages here. Who knows, maybe I'll do a bathroom renovation with my newfound interest and or excitement of building. No, I doubt. In fact, I want to get to a point where it's slowing down. I know, they say when you get older, you shouldn't slow down. And in many respects, I understand that, because I have some aches and pains that if I slowed down, I may very well end up in a wheelchair. And I don't want to do that. So I need to keep up a certain level of physical activity as I advance in age, that is. All right, we're staying with the Wade and Butcher for the head shave. Yeah, I'm recording. All right. I think that'll do on the head shave. All right, I'm gonna put my brush in the water here and let it soak out. So it has been a few days since my last shave. I'm sorry this is going so long, but we're almost done. All right. All right. Doing a little scrub out on my brush, get the lather, get all the soap out of my brush. And with that, about 80%, 90% of that is done. I'll come back and do it, the rest of it under clean water. And so my bowl has got soap in it from the brush, and it's pretty well melted into the water. And so I'm going to use that to rinse my face with, and then use my alum block. Well, that's a nice shave. It's not stinging hardly at all, just enough to, as I like to say, let you know you've had a shave. All right. Now be sure to wipe off and rinse off all the alum, because you don't want that alum. I'm going to say this to the day I die. You don't want that alum getting onto your carbon steel razors. It will leave a mark. That's going to leave a mark. As the movies like to say, that's going to leave a mark. All right. Now, let's take a look here. You know, I don't know. What am I going to put on next? I know one thing. I want to finish out this little George Thumper lime extract of lime food. So I'll bring that over here, put on a dab. Still just a little bit of feel of something there, but I'm not going to go after it. All right, that's a aftershave balm, and because it's lime, I will use my Lime Sec, Pinard Lime Sec. What's the SEC stand for? SEC, don't know. Little bit of a sting, but I tell you what, it's not as bad a sting if I had not used the alum block. Put that right back over here. All right, thank you for joining me. I have reached the end of my process here. Thanks for listening to me. We're a little bit long. I'm tired, I'm sore, but I'm going to get back at it and do some more. I'll see you down the road.